this concept of resetting the timeline. Wherever you are in life right now, you have the ability to completely stop, hit the brakes, and say, you know what? No. This is not exactly what I want to be doing. And so I'm no longer going to continue down this path. I'm going to stop and go over here. And you know what? It may feel like it's going to be the scariest thing that's ever happened. But let me tell you something. Through all of that thrashing, through all of that chaos that may spark up when you try to make that decision, I promise you that if you follow more of what you want and lead your life in that direction, you're going to be happy. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Wake Up, Get Better podcast. My name is Chris Creed, and I just moved back to Colorado. And the reason I am going to talk about this is because I have a very specific message that I want to share about that. If you don't know, back in 2020, my family and I moved to Colorado. And it was in February of 2020, the end of February. And when we moved here, the intention was not to stay here. We were going to continue to move out west. We were looking at Portland, Oregon at the time. As you guys know, COVID happened, and that didn't. We kind of ended up staying in Colorado just because everything was shut down. And to be honest, we fell in love with the mountains. And we were really enjoying that. And we were in Castle Rock, Colorado for a year. And then we were in Denver for about 10 months or 11 months. And then at the end of that period, I took a position with a company that moved us back to Franklin, Tennessee. And that decision started a ripple effect of realizations for me. One of the biggest ones being the question of, what do I really want in life? And it was almost immediately when we got back to Nashville, to the Nashville area, that I realized that was the wrong move. It wasn't just the position. I liked the people I was working with, but it was more about the betrayal of a dream, and that sounds really fluffy to say that, but it was a betrayal of the dream that I said that I wanted for my life. And I betrayed that. And there was this conflict rising inside of me, and not just inside of me, but in every part of my life, that I couldn't wrap my head around. I couldn't truly grasp what was going on, because it all felt like chaos. Maybe you guys have felt like that at some point, where everything just feels like it's spinning out of control. And I know a lot of people who talk about how they felt that since 2020 or even earlier than that. They felt like this for years now. And it's almost like people have resigned themselves to the chaos, to feeling this way. I'm going to feel this way forever, because that's the narrative that they'd spun up in. And it took me actually 2 years to make the decision for us as a family, not just me, but us and my wife and I, to make the decision to say, look, we are exiting this timeline of chaos. And it wasn't intentional. We weren't actually using this language. We were just looking to get back to Colorado. As soon as we got back to Nashville. I love Nashville. We lived there for 10 years. It was a lot of fun. But when we left, we broke the connection from it. And so going back there did not feel aligned for us. And not to mention that a lot of things happened that I learned a lot of lessons about how I want to spend my time and how I don't want to spend my time, especially with work related things. And that was a huge, huge gift to be able to get that lesson. I wish we didn't have to move across the country to do that, but that's neither here nor there. Fast forward those 2 years, And we finally just made the decision to jump again. And let me tell you guys something. It is not an easy decision to move across the country. When we decided to move from Nashville to Denver, that decision to uproot over a decade of life was hard. It was really hard. And let me tell you, as hard as it is, like physically, just to like pack the truck and drive the truck across the country, as difficult as that is, this decision to move out here this time, easiest freaking thing I've ever done in my life. Like it was such an easy decision and everything went so smoothly. Why? Because it rematched, it realigned, it resparked the vision. I'm reading a book right now called 10X is Better Than 2X. It's by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. 10X is easier than 2X. And one of the things that I underlined here, like right at the beginning, it reminded me of all of this, was that it's actually right here at the beginning of the book. So if you guys ever get this book, highly recommend reading this. But right here at the beginning of the book, it's a quote by Richard Koch. And it says, "The road to hell is paved with the pursuit of volume. Volume leads to marginal products, marginal customers, and greatly increased managerial complexity. Hard work leads to low returns. Insight in doing what we want leads to high returns." Insight in doing what we want leads to high returns. At some point over the last few years, like a lot of people, lost my way in my creative vision, in my work vision, in my goals, in my vibrancy in life. I've lost a piece of that. And it wasn't an intentional thing. And that's the problem. There's a lot of things over the last couple of years, work-wise especially, that fall under the umbrella of unintentional. I don't like that. I want to be living my life the way I want to live it. I want to optimize my life for the way I want to optimize it. I don't want anyone else to have any say over that. And I think that's doable. I've been doing it my whole work existence, but for some reason, I decided to let someone else step in and say that this is how you're going to do this. And this is what success looks like. And I wasn't okay with that. And I'm not going to say any more about that, but I'm glad that I severed that connection. And I'm glad that I have returned back to the timeline we were on. If you guys have ever seen Loki, I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't watched it, but it's a series on Netflix or on Disney Plus. It's great. And one of the things that happens in the show is that Loki goes into this alternate timeline jump, right? And then this governing agency called the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, I think is what it's called, shows up and they capture him. And what they do is they like leave this little charge behind and they take him out of there. And you'll find out later on that little charge is meant to reset the timeline. So imagine like a sacred timeline that runs through all of time. This authority is meant to stop alternate branches on the timeline so that everything stays in the way it should be. I think that I experienced an alternate timeline, not like literally an alternate timeline, but I broke into something that wasn't meant for me. And I was meant to learn the lessons there, and everything happens for a reason and all that jazz. But something in me decided to vary from the timeline that I had set for myself. At some point in the proceedings, I started believing that hard work led to high returns, not low returns. And that insight and doing what I want wasn't leading anywhere. When in fact, hard work ends up leading to low returns, and insight and doing what you want and following that vision is what's going to lead to high returns. Why? Because it's for you. It's what you want, right? We wanted to be in the mountains. We have said since our son was born that we wanted to raise him in the mountains. And for some reason, we varied from that. Why? Because of fear, man. Because of fear. So we had to reset the timeline. And that was not an easy thing to do, but it was an easy decision to make. And once we made that decision, everything went so smoothly. So smoothly. The move out here, finding a place, everything was so much easier when we reset that timeline. I wanted to talk to you guys about this concept of resetting the timeline. wherever you are in life right now, you have the ability to completely stop, hit the brakes, and say, you know what? No. This is not exactly what I want to be doing. And so I'm no longer going to continue down this path. I'm going to stop and go over here. And you know what? It may feel like it's going to be the scariest thing that's ever happened. But let me tell you something. Through all of that thrashing, through all of that chaos that may spark up when you try to make that decision, I promise you that if you follow more of what you want and lead your life in that direction, you're going to be happier. You're going to be happier. I can't express to you how it feels just to be in a location. And as much as like place matters, it's more, and like it's cool to be in the mountains. As much as that matters, it's more about the decision of what we want, right? Of the alignment of, hey, this is what we want for our family. This is what we want for our lives. This is what we want. It's not so much about like, you don't have to move across the country, but maybe it's that you took a job that you shouldn't have, right? And it just didn't work out. And like, you can reset the timeline of your life. You don't have to continue down the path that you don't want to. In fact, I would submit to you that the more you continue down that path, the more obstacles you're going to meet and the harder it's going to feel and the more frustrated you're going to be. And it just doesn't have to be that way is the thing. And I know that's hard to understand. Like it may be hard to grasp when you're kind of in the middle of it. I know if I told myself a year ago, 2 years ago that, hey man, this is not the right path. I was so blinded with fear in that moment that I was so blinded with fear in that moment that I don't think I could have heard you because I couldn't see any other path, which is absolutely absurd to me to think about today, especially knowing like what I went through. But man, I wouldn't have done that. Like I've been thinking about recording this podcast episode, and I've been thinking like, do I regret making that decision to leave here when we knew that this was our dream? Do I regret making that decision? And it's hard to say that I regret it because I don't feel regret. I feel like we've reset the timeline. I feel like as soon as I pulled in to this state, it was like all right, boom, reset. We're doing this now again. It's all good. But in as from a pure sense of the word, do I regret that decision to move back? I don't. Now that I think about it, I don't regret it. And the reason I don't regret it is because of what it brought our family and what it meant for our family at that time. But I do think that it was the wrong move because it wasn't what we wanted. It was in pursuit of something different. And because of that, I will never make a decision that goes against what we want again. Right. And in the moment, it felt like that's what we wanted. In the moment, it felt real. In the moment, it felt like this is where we need to go. And this is the decision we need to make. But it was, fear was clouding my mind, and, there's a quote from Dune that talks about how fear is the mind killer. And it truly is. It actually shuts down the logical part of your brain. And you can't think through this. You can't be in like a dreaming, visionary state if you're scared. It's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to make decisions that are going to be like for a positive future when you're scared. It just is. You want to run, or fight, or freeze, right? We can't think about anything else. And logic is out the window. So for you, this is the takeaway. Reset the timeline. I've seen a bunch of people posting recently, as the year is starting up. I've seen a bunch of people posting about how, like almost mocking the idea of new year, new me. And they've been saying things like, new year, same old me, you know what I mean? And it's like, we've somehow disconnected as a society from even trying to improve. And I want to challenge you, if that's how you're feeling right now, and you're like, well, I'm just too burned out from the chaos of the year and like all these things happening and this craziness in the world. I'm too exhausted by that to change. I'm too exhausted by that to grow and get better or think about setting goals or resolutions. Like whatever happened to resolutions, man, it's a powerful thing. And the reason it's been a thing is because there's a natural pull to change when even though there's nothing magical about, 1/1, January 1st, there's still this pull to the new, right? And it's not just even to the new. It's kind of it's meant to recalibrate your brain to doing what you want instead of doing things that are being dictated to you or feeling a way that is being dictated to you, that's been dictated to you for years. You don't have to feel that way anymore. You can reset the timeline. You can show up today and choose to go after what you want, right? And it's not going to feel good the first time, but then once you experience it, going back to anything else, going out of the timeline of what you want versus going, staying on the path of what other people are telling you to do, I'm telling you that you're not going to want to leave. All right. So whether it's in, something to do with your work, or something to do with the way you're showing up with your work, or it's something to do with your, with the place you're living, or like your fitness or whatever, you don't have to like sludge through all of the crap that has been going on or whatever that's happened to you over the last few years. If that's how you're feeling, you don't have to do that. You can just stop where you are. Stop. We're not going this way anymore. We're going this way. Right. And it really can be that simple. And just let all of the other voices that are telling you otherwise go to the wayside, because the only reason you're hearing those is because they're loud, because they want everybody to stay the same. Don't listen to anybody who's trying to tell you to say the same or that it's not okay to change and get better. Okay. I made this whole podcast and the whole vision behind this. I almost forgot it, y'all. I almost forgot where this came from. You know where I dreamed up this idea? Right here in Colorado, right here at the foot of the mountains, driving through the mountains with Jen. I had the vision for creating this and having this be a way for me to improve myself, but also a way to help other people to find their paths to getting better, right? And bringing people all together for that same purpose. And then also in not just in health and fitness and wellness, but like in marketing and in business. Like, how do we show up better and make better stuff for this new world that we're in, right? How do we do that? How do we create things that are going to help people in this time when people need help more than ever, right? How can we continue to show up like that and make ourselves better and feel better? I think all of those things have to happen all at once. And I dreamt up that vision right here in Colorado, and I almost lost it because I was trying to operate on the timeline that I wanted while still trying to serve the timeline that was being dictated to me. And I finally decided to stop and reset the timeline. So I want to encourage you to do the same thing today. If you're feeling stuck or if you're feeling like you don't have any momentum, screw that. Stop and reset the timeline. All right. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a fantastic start to 2024. And here's to a crazy good year, y'all. It's going to be fun. Have fun with it, because if you're not having fun and you're doing this business thing, what the hell are we even doing, right? Let's have fun. It should be fun. It should be exciting. And it should be what you want. Be sure to check out this book, 10X is Easier Than 2X. This is the book I'm starting 2024 with. I'd love to know what you're starting 2024 with. Send me a message. You can do that on Instagram at Chris Creed, or you can send me an email, chris@storywellmarketing.com. But until next time, y'all, my name is Chris Creed, and I'm here to get better. I love y'all. I'll see you soon.
Slow down.